Hello and welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. We're reaching you from our Lagos studios right here at our global headquarters, and a lot it's been going on in the world of politics. Our job is simple: to help you track all of that is happening and curate it as much as possible to ensure we bring you the biggest and the latest of those stories. And one of the things we're going to do today is to find out what's going on in the world of politics across the country. But first, let's head to the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives has started updating us on exactly what is happening there. As they say, they'll be racing against time to ensure the passage of the 2024 appropriation bill. And this is according to the Speaker of the House, following resumption of plenary today after a brief recess to allow standing committees scrutinize the proposed fiscal policy estimate submitted by President Bola Tinubu. He says that between now and Saturday, 30th of December, they expect to pass that particular appropriation bill. When we head to their counterpart in the upper legislative chamber, that's the Senate, the appropriation panel there is unhappy over an additional 25 billion naira request for the EFCC when it received reports from the chairman of the Committee on EFCC, ICPC, and the NFIU, reminding them the plans to merge both the EFCC and the ICPC are still on the table. So they are telling them putting these monies together or adding more money may not be acceptable, because very soon all of that will be one agency of government. When a truce is reached, it is expected to provide some level of closure to conflict. But yesterday's political truce brokered by President Bola Tinubu between Governor Wike-Fubara of Rivers State and his predecessor, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, instead created more talking points and controversy. The 8-point resolution appears to posture controversial content, which is why the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party say they differ with the president and his position on the ongoing political face-off in Rivers State, insisting that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, must conduct elections to fill the seat of those lawmakers who defected in the State Assembly. Meanwhile, the convener of Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, and elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark, has described the 8-point resolution of the Rivers State political crisis, in his words, as undemocratic, unconstitutional, obnoxious, and aimed at handing over the political leadership of Rivers State to the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, Chief Clark says members of the Jaw Nation are prepared to go to court to challenge the resolution, which he sees as a deliberate attempt to erode the powers of Governor Wike-Fubara.
Wike, this is a man who has been the architect of the madness in politics in Rivers State. They started in Governor Dide, when he was chief of staff. They disgraced him out of office. Today, Wike is spending Rivers State money trying to appease Governor Odili. Today, because President Tinubu wants to please Nyesom Wike, who is he? He has now decided to hand over the leadership, the political leadership of Rivers State to Wike. It is unacceptable to the people of Rivers State. I have got information from Rivers State that 8-point program decision was fake, because it was once signed by former Governor Odili, and Fubara himself. He rejected it. How they came into signing it, nobody knows.
The last has not been heard. Now, amidst the political drama in Rivers State and the recent resolution, the former governor of the state, Dr. Peter Odili, says he is satisfied with the decisions of Wike-Fubara, the governor of the state, since inauguration in May. Dr. Odili was speaking, who was governor in 1999 all the way till 2007, shared confidence in Governor Fubara maintaining that he will perform well, judging by his actions so far. The former governor was speaking at the third convocation and 6th Founders Day ceremonies of Palmer Medical University, founded by him. Now, staying with that event, but this time with the man at the eye of the storm, Governor Wike-Fubara, is saying no price is too big to pay for peace, affirming his resolve to abide by the truce that was brokered by President Bola Tinubu. Governor Fubara stated this while addressing a special visitor at that particular convocation ceremony. He thanked the residents of the state for their support while the political tension, in his words, were on.
Let me say this to my dear states. I call you my dear state because the support you have shown within this period is unmeasurable. From quarters, ordinarily, I don't even have any contact with them, but they have stood by us. I want you to know that there is no amount that is too big to pay for peace. I'll continue to pay it.
Quite an emotional Governor Wike-Fubara right there, talking about the truce and the price he has to pay for the leadership of the state. But before we dive into that conversation, my guests, they are ready to talk about this particular agreement or resolution, as it's called. But before we talk about it and dissect it as much as we can, let's bring you our political roundup stories.
The Supreme Court has reserved judgment on 2 appeals challenging the emergence of Babajide Sanwo-Olu as Lagos State Governor. The 5-member panel, led by Justice John Okoro, reserved it after the appeals of Gbadebo Rhodes Viva of the Labour Party and Azeez Adediran of the People's Democratic Party were heard, and parties adopted their briefs of arguments. Presenting their case, Governor Sanwo-Olu's counsel Wole Olanipekun argued in court that the current case differs from what was presented at the appeal court. He emphasized that the previous argument focused on the deputy's renunciation of citizenship, whereas the current issue pertains to his acquisition of U.S. citizenship. Consequently, he requested a dismissal of the appeal. The House of Representatives is asking the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFI, and the Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers to immediately embark on a comprehensive valuation of all public assets owned by the country and publish a detailed inventory to the public. The member representing Oredo Federal Constituency, Honorable Esosa Iyawe, raised the motion on the floor at the resumption of plenary on Tuesday.
The House is also concerned that asset valuation has not been given much attention by the federal government, and improper documentation has caused avoidable huge economic loss to the country.
The Imo State Governor, Senator Hope Uzodinma, says his government will deal ruthlessly with any political office holder or public official who by any means tries to sabotage the smooth implementation of the 2024 budget through fraudulent and corrupt practices. The governor gave this warning at the Government House in Owerri, the Imo State capital, after signing into law the 2024 appropriation bill.
We need to be prudent. We need to consider the interests of the state. We need to shun all forms of fraud and criminality. We need to commit to our jobs.
The former senator representing Rivers East Senatorial District, Andrew Uchendu, has been speaking on the agreement believed to have been reached between the Rivers State Governor Wike-Fubara and the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. In an exclusive interview with Channels Television, Senator Uchendu questioned the constitutionality of some of the terms and conditions contained in the agreement.
Well, it's now time to talk about that very issue about resolutions trying to bring an end to the impasse, political impasse in Rivers State on the program. And I'm being joined right here in our Lagos studio by lawyer and public affairs analyst, Mr. Jite Ogunye. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
And of course, via Zoom, joining us is Mr. Curtis Adigba. He's a public affairs analyst. Mr. Curtis, thank you so much for coming on the program. Mr. Adigba, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear
me? Fantastic. Yes, I can hear you. I didn't get your response. I needed to be sure we're together.
Thanks joining us. Me.
Thank you for coming on the program. Also joining us is from Rivers State, Port Harcourt, Rivers State capital, is a former APC chairman, Rivers State, Mr. Emeka Beke. Mr. Beke, thank you for coming on the program. All right. Okay, gentlemen, let me start with you, Mr. Jite. Naturally, when you look at what a truce in its true sense should be like, oh, finally it's over, let's go home and marry. But this looks like we need to unpack certain items one after the other to really understand what has been agreed upon because of the controversy it's already generating as soon as that image came out or the resolution came out. But first, I want to get your first impression. When you saw the 8-point resolution, what was your first impression?
My impression is that a political settlement was being adopted by politicians who are daggers drawn and were contesting certain positions. And that therefore, in the final analysis, that settlement will not be devoid of controversy. But I reckon that the parties, based on balance of forces, balance of political forces, all had come to a realization that it will pay them in the long run to have that kind of settlement. I've read opinions of people who have intervened, who are saying that the settlement was skewed, was one-sided, was unconstitutional and all that. But hey, my reckoning, my impression is that the parties, realize that they will have to prevent an escalation of the conflict, a degeneration of the crisis, and therefore have that kind of settlement. If any one of them felt that the adoption of that truce or that settlement will lead to their political liquidation, of course, they will not sign up to it. But I assume that all of them, even while realizing that they weren't going to win all their points, that agreement represented a middle of the road approach to them to share their sword and then try to move ahead. Otherwise, if the crisis were to escalate, for example, and I made this point elsewhere, if there is an escalation of the crisis leading to a declaration of a state of emergency, which is not far-fetched, what would then happen to all the parties in that kind of a situation? Because we're talking about a situation whereby the second arm of government was no longer at peace, the legislature. And we're talking about a representative democracy, that those who were elected were no longer functioning as an arm of government. But we had all the absurdities that we witnessed in the past 1 week, and all that.
So let me come to you, Mr. Curtis, as quickly as possible. One of the things I have made up to my mind to do with all of you gentlemen is to see how much of this resolution, one after the other, we can look at it. And if my producer can help me with the images as much as possible, I will appreciate. The first one is, Mr. Curtis, all matters instituted in the quote by the governor of Rivers State, Fubara, and his team, in respect of the political crisis in Rivers State shall be withdrawn. That was the resolution. And it says immediately. Some people are citing the fact that there were two ex parte orders, the one that recognized a here-led group that eventually empowered them to be able to sit, and the budget was presented to them. And then there was another court order, ex parte as well, I understand, in Abuja, that stopped INEC or anyone from going ahead to conduct election because maybe their seats were declared vacant and all of that. So people are saying, why did it address one order as against two? What's your view?
Well, you know, I am not an advocate of war. In other words, I am not against compromise in politics. In fact, politics is a game of compromise. But then we need to ask ourselves, what are the conflicts and the compromises about, right? It is instituting this crisis and the conflicts and the compromises that we understand exactly what is going on. As far as I'm concerned, I think this is another attempt to destroy constitutional governance in our country. Okay? Now, the governor has been asked to discontinue all legal proceedings that he has started against the opponents of his government and those instituted by his team. These were the same orders of court that has kept him placed right now. But let's even begin by addressing what the issues are. We are providing solutions to the problem when we don't even understand what the problem is. As I speak to you, nobody, not the governor, not Wike himself, has articulated publicly for us to understand what the crisis is all about, other than the fact that he's built a structure, the structure produced the governor, and the governor has to take instructions from him. So let's even understand what the issues are before we begin to talk about providing solution or agreeing to certain compromise. But let me be clear about this situation. You see, countries developed through resolving political crisis or all form of crisis that come in the course of political engagement or from governance. What is happening in our own country is that every time we've been given an opportunity to try and test our laws and then lay down precedents that could guide future political engagement, we throw it away on the altar of politics. We have a situation where you are telling someone to go back and discontinue all legal actions. But what led to this legal system? So if the governor goes back and he withdraws all the court processes that he has filed, is he also going to withdraw all the orders of court? Does that lie within the governor to do that? What about those who changed from their party to another party? An issue that can only be dealt with by the law at this moment. Will these members be going back to the PDP? Or would they remain in the APC? So why was all these issues not addressed? And this is why I think that this is another attempt to emasculate constitutional governance. And it's so sad that we have a president who has a reputation for being a Democrat, but every time he has been given this opportunity, he turns a blind eye and then he plays politics. Look at what happened in Ondo State. So why do we have a constitution? We live in a country where everybody complains about the constitution. Oh, our constitution is faulty. Our constitution is not working well. But the portion of the constitution that is working, how are we implementing them?
Mr. Adigba, let me go to Mr. Beke in Port Harcourt. Mr. Beke, you're a member of the APC. So however this plays out, my assumption, I could be wrong, is that you should be excited. if I'm wrong, let me know, because these members, I'm going to come to Mr. Jite on the legal aspect as much as possible, but I'm feeling that if you now have 27 members in the House of Assembly, that should gladden your heart, who this resolution has said they should be recognized, isn't it?
First, let me thank you. Let's correct one expression. I am duly elected chairman of the party. I ran an election on the 3rd of October 2021, and I won the election. When you relate your voice, say former chairman of it, I'm not the former chairman of it. And I said it loud and clear. The National Working Committee
Mr. Beke, just not to stop your stream of thought, but if you could turn down the volume of your maybe TV or something, because we're getting the whole back so we can hear you clearly.
Okay. The National Working Committee does not have any right to dissolve elected ESCO of a party in any state. And there were no crises in our party in the state. We never had any issue. We campaigned, ran into the two local government of Rivers State. Went round to
Mr. Beke, just to hold up, just maybe let's correct that quickly, and I'll come back to you to conclude your thoughts on that. I'll also ask you about whether that's a subject of litigation and all of that, because we've seen that the NWC set up a caretaker committee led by Mr. Okocha, so we don't want to have a conversation around issues under adjudication, but you have a right to state your position. But let's get that technical and clear. Let me come to you, Mr. Oguye. Mr. Adigba has pointed to the fact that, which is one of the provisions, I think that, when you look at number 2 and 3 of the resolution, which says that all impeachment proceedings initiated by the governor, against the governor rather, by the assembly members should be dropped immediately. And the leadership of the House of Assembly, led by Right Honorable Martins Amiewule, shall be recognized alongside 27 members who resigned from the PDP. So, if they resign from the PDP, Section 109(1)G, can that be corrected politically?
Look, let's not be too legalistic here. We're talking about constitutionalism. I'm a lawyer. Which constitution allows a House of Assembly to be demolished?
No, that's not the conversation.
No, I'm just saying.
That's not the conversation.
What I'm saying is that.
My question.
Listen, sir. What I'm saying is that politicians started fighting. Politicians came together and said they wanted to resolve their conflict. I have no fundamental problem with that. The problem I had, and I continue to have, is that why politicians are jostling for supremacy and taking positions, they tend to be careless about the possibility of their actions taking down our constitution and the democratic process. And it's not only in Rivers State that has happened, with people chanting and hailing, it is good. I'm saying that in a representative democracy, as witnessed in Edo State, for example, and I spoke on it here, where there was a crisis and the government insisted that, yes, have proclaimed the parliament. The others, for years, weren't allowed to exercise their mandate to be partakers of the legislative process. And at a stage, the House of Assembly in that state was also being demolished in the name of renovation. So where do you have that in the Constitution? So I'm saying that on all these sides, we've had this problem. And they came together, they said they wanted to resolve a problem. And they said they were going to withdraw cases. So why are we insisting that, oh, those cases should play out in court? My take is that the fewer political cases our courts take, the better for the political process, the better for the democratic process. Because our courts are inundated with cases that make ordinary litigants suffer. Do you know the time our courts spend on all these political cases?
The reason I was zeroing in on that question, that this looks like, from when you look at the Constitution,
yes,
the Constitution says, 109(G), clearly that if you defect, and there's no clear reason as to proviso in the subsection or in the second paragraph, which some people have alluded to the fact that they didn't have a basis because the party is not divided, they should vacate their seat. Can that be resolved by simply
I'm not answering that question. It can be resolved because something led to that. I'm not going to embark on shenanigans of politicians.
That's why you're the lawyer to help us address it.
Exactly.
Legally.
It can be resolved.
Legally.
It can be resolved. They've defected and they go back to that place and say that yes, it was, as the Yoruba would say, Ijalode Torido. We did that as grandstanding, so we are no longer.
So are they going back to the PDP?
I don't know. I'm not them.
Okay, I'm going.
And they go back and say that we are not defecting again
because we're all here to defend the Constitution.
The court has pronounced on that section. The division that the court will recognize that will justify a defection is a division down the line from the national to the local. A whole party will be split into two divisions. The PDP is saying that that does not exist.
Okay.
And so the court has ruled on this. So I'm not going to say that, yes, they need to go back because we are developing the rule of law so that the court can pronounce on it again. The court has already pronounced on it. We know what it is. Politicians are doing their own thing. And so they say they want to resolve their crisis. So why should I say that, no, don't resolve the crisis?
Well, we're saying resolve your crisis within the rule of law. Let's go back to Mr. Beke.
And face governance.
Mr. Beke, let's go back to you in a moment. You were trying to state your position in terms of your party leadership. If you could do that in 10 seconds and address the issue that I pointed out, because I highlighted the fact that Mr. Okocha was set up by the NWC of the APC as the caretaker chairman. So I don't know, is that first and foremost, are you in court about this issue?
Yes, I'm in court.
Okay, but let's just leave that for a moment and address the issue on hand right now, the issue of this resolution, your perspective as quickly as possible.
Well, the resolution we started yesterday. I wasn't part of the meeting, but we've seen something on the social medias and on television and all that. First, everybody wants peace. But when you want to make peace, you make peace the way it's going to suit every party. You can't make peace in one area and abandon the other side. The governor is the chief security officer of the state. And I know Mr. President, he's a Democrat. He was a governor in Lagos, and today is the president of Nigeria. Things should be done properly. You allow the governor to function as governor of the state because he was duly elected by Rivers people, and I believe that he should be given that honor as governor of the state. That's my position. He's the governor of the state. Unless God says otherwise, that is not a governor. You can't make somebody to be a governor. You are not the person to dictate what is happening in the state. No. And I believe Mr. President is a proper Democrat. And I know that he's probably not well briefed. If he's properly briefed, I know he will not take side. Because we need peace in Rivers State. We need Rivers State to develop. We are finished about politics. We are talking about governance of the state. People in Rivers State are suffering. And I believe that whatever region they reach, they should really to make sure you carry everybody along and not to leave the governor. And you want to take the power of the governor from him? No. Let's accept the truth. I wasn't part of the meeting. I wasn't in the discussion. But I think from what we've seen in social media, what we've seen in TV, if you look at those communications, it is one-sided. 100% one-sided. You have to allow the governor to function.
All right.
That's my take in this.
All right, let me come to you, Mr. Adigba, on this particular one, because I've read a lot of things and seen a lot of things about this particular issue. Some said the governor signed this, is more like a suicide mission, all kinds of statements being made. But when you look at it, when you look at the 8 resolutions as itemized and signed by all of the parties involved, does it come to you as a truce or something that is filled with also some level of mutual suspicion? I'll give you an example. I think that should be item number 5. The Rivers State House of Assembly shall choose where they want to sit and conduct their legislative business without interference or hindrance from the executive arm of government, which is supposed to be, but I'm wondering why they had to put that into that particular resolution.
Okay, so before I speak to this directly, let me also respectfully say to my colleague there that I'm also a lawyer, and then I am amused that we want to resolve a constitutional problem and we shouldn't use the law, we should use politics. Of course, politics don't set precedent. Now, you made mention of the fact that these guys defected from one party to another without meeting the condition laid down by the apex court in this country. And so if you said you have resolved or you are encouraging a political resolution, will there remain members of the APC or would they go back to the PDP? So we have to look at the law. We cannot use the goodness of politicians to resolve constitutional crisis. Now, having said that, I think it is important that we understand that we are dealing with the law here. Now, if elected members of the House who understand their calling and responsibilities and the duties imposed upon them decided to leave their party and go to another party, and their seats have been declared vacant, I do not understand why people would then ask that, look at what you have there is not even an agreement. What you have is simply an imposition. It's simply saying we are handing over the affairs of a state to someone who is not the governor of that state. Look, these people were elected by their people. Yes, there's no doubt about that. But they have abandoned the mandate given to them by their own people, according to extant law and practices in our country. So my position is that the governor should not accept this compromise or the agreement reached. This is not an agreement. This is an imposition on the governor. We also know Wike has been governor himself. The president was governor of Lagos State. Who dictated to any one of them when they were both governors? And I'm not saying we shouldn't have peace, but it should be peace that is based on the law and not the peace of the graveyard.
All right, Mr. Adigba, we'll come back to you. I'm sure, Mr. Jite, you want to respond, but in responding, I want to add one more question to that particular response, which is when a HEAS group was recognized by an ex parte order to lead the House, 4 members, the governor swung into action and presented a budget of 800 billion naira to the assembly. In the eyes of the law, perhaps you're the lawyer, you help me. Maybe the law says whatever is left of the House, the business of governance must go on. And this resolution, I think I want to get to it. The governor in resolution number 6 says the governor of Rivers State, Sir Fubara, shall represent the state budget to a properly constituted Rivers State House of Assembly. I've never seen any government present budget twice, except it's supplementary. Help me out here.
Look, let's not discuss like an ostrich. It's an absurdity for any governor to present a budget before a 4 or 3-member house.
I don't want to cut your thought. I don't want to cut your thought. That what some people were explaining was that since the members are defected, in the eyes of the law, whatever is left constitutes whether it's 3 or 4 people. It looks bizarre.
So who declared their seat vacant?
Who declared their seat?
Yes.
Of course, it's a HEAS group that declared the seat vacant.
4 members declared the seat of 27 vacant.
I'm just explaining.
I'm saying that this is a cocktail of absurdities.
Okay.
I'm insistent, sir, that political solutions should be found. That doesn't mean that we are betraying the law. I'm saying that too often, issues that ought not to be brought to the dockets of the court are brought to court. The courts are used and they are being misused by politicians.
Because of time constraints.
Who think that
because of time constraints,
the portal of justice is the turf for jostling for control and supremacy.
Because of time constraints,
yes.
A straight question. Should the governor pick up that fiscal policy document called the appropriation bill and represent to these members again? Do you agree that? Do you agree with that resolution?
I will answer the question straightforwardly. Did the governor sign the truce agreement? He did. Did others sign? He did. And today, earlier, it was reported that he said that no sacrifice was too much to make for peace. So, it's their document. they should implement it. That's how I answered the question.
All right, Mr. Beke, as we begin to drag this down, one other, I think I've tried to capture as many things as possible. One of the things that was said is the fact that the governor should also represent those who resigned, the members who actually resigned, the cabinet members. I'm looking for it now. The names of all commissioners in the River State Council who resigned their appointment because of political crisis in the state should be resubmitted to the House for approval. I don't know what your take is on, but I think I saw most of the letters from those 8 or 9 commissioners, and I don't think anybody cited political crisis. They say principle and personal reasons. Your quick reaction so we can wrap this up, sir.
Let me ask you this. If you were a governor and somebody in your cabinet resigns and you reach back an agreement, you want the person to come back, don't you think that the governor is taking a pit for him to die? You can't resign. The governor never asked them to that. They resign on their own. They should go back on. There are a lot of other persons, rivers, sons, and daughters who have been competent to become commissioner in the states. If you want to kill the governor, you want to bring them back? No, now. We're not being fair. That's the truth. You have resigned, you have resigned. Are you telling me that if ministers in the federal capital resign tomorrow and probably they come in America and say president should bring them back? No, now. Let's tell the truth. We're not being fair. Let's not treat the office of governor like it's a child.
All right, Mr. Beke, Mr. Beke, very good place to just land your thought. Thank you so much. Let me go to Mr. Adigba. 10 seconds, way forward, 10 seconds. I'm coming to Mr. Ogunye. 10 seconds quickly, because I understand we need to go for a break. Mr. Adigba.
Let me tell you, if the governor agrees to implement the terms of this agreement, this is just the beginning of crisis for him, because he's not going to be in charge. The commissioners who resign should be sacked. He shouldn't bring them back. He is the governor of the state. Look, is it not shocking that one man alone nominated 9 persons to the cabinet of his successor? What kind of democracy is this? So this governor, and the danger he's running for him is that even those people who are supporting him now will abandon him when the time comes if he caves into this agreement.
All right.
He should fight for something. And if he goes down fighting for it, so be it.
All right, Mr. Adigba, Mr. Ajite. I know just your position on this, because we're looking for peace at the end of the day.
The governor came to power through a group, through a party. Those who are intervening and admonishing the governor for being pusillanimous and cowardly are pretending that they can take ownership of the governor, who came through that process by energizing him and encouraging him to defy his group. They are all together. You know, it wasn't only the commissioners that were appointed by this one god of a man, including the governor himself. So politicians will be politicians. I don't want to dabble it all. They should resolve the problem and face governance. And not risk the lives of ordinary Rivers people. That's my take.
I am hoping that next time we will start talking governance and all. All right, Mr. Ajite, a lawyer and public affairs analyst, join me right here in the studio in Lagos. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure.
Mr. Curtis Adigba, public affairs analyst, joining us via Zoom. Thank you for coming, as well as Mr. Emeka Beke, who, let me say, former APC chairman, based on the law. But I don't know, you're confusing me on how to address you. Let me call you APC chieftain. Like, can we stay with APC chieftain? Fantastic. Thank you for allowing me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program. When we come back after this particular break, we're going to switch gears to issues that has to do with the protection of lives of Nigerians in the country and outside the country. I have 2 guests joining me. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Nigerian community in Johannesburg, South Africa, are quite unhappy at the moment and have organized a protest reacting to the unfortunate death of Mr. Ezowa Nat, who reportedly died while in custody at the Johannesburg Central Police Station. The demonstration also addressed concerns about the alleged intimidation and harassment of Nigerian businesses in the area. And that's what we will be focusing on. Let's see whether those are visuals you see Nigerian people not quite happy with how they are treated in the South African nation. Let's take a listen to this gentleman.
In the memorandum that we are submitting, we're expecting an answer or investigation to be wrapped up or concluded as soon as possible, knowing that the family back home in Nigeria, they are mourning and they don't have any closure yet. As we speak, the body is still in the mortuary. Autopsy has not yet been done. So as soon as we can hear from him, then we will be able to have closure to this matter. But if the time frame that we have specified, we didn't hear anything, then our legal desk will take it up.
I don't have a wedding ring because my wedding ring was stolen from me. My charger was stolen. My AirPod was stolen. My perfume, my hand cream in my bag, they were all stolen. My money was stolen. My goods were destroyed. I am hurt. I am a human being. First, I'm a human. I'm an African. I'm a Nigerian. My life matters.
I want a proper investigation to be carried out, especially I feel nobody deserves to be mistreated. I think there are laws that everyone is protected by the law. As far as you are in South Africa, you're covered by the law of the land of South Africa.
Well, it's not only in South Africa that Nigerians are complaining about their safety and their well-being. We just saw a report from Taraba State as well, where we understand that about 500 persons have been reportedly killed by bandits in Usa local government area, with over 100 communities, border communities, deserted in the last 2 years. Now, a State Assembly member representing one of the constituencies disclosed this to journalists, maintaining that his constituency have been overrun by bandits from the Republic of Cameroon, with over 7,000 locals now displaced, which is going to be the basis of our conversation, talking about the protection of Nigerian lives and businesses wherever they are in the world, especially outside our country. And I'm being joined on the program from our Abuja studio by a former Army spokesperson, Brigadier General Sani Usman. General, thank you for joining us on the program, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on your program.
General, let's just get started this way. Now, despite being the biggest economy, now, because you are a security expert, you've been in the Army, got to the rank of a general, having the responsibility to protect our sovereignty, which is why this question is appropriate for those of you who are passionate about protecting the lives and the integrity of our country. Now, despite being this biggest economy, most populous black nation on earth, Nigerians continue to be easy targets, even in African countries. Do you wonder why? General?
Unfortunately, I got the last part of the question. You asked me whether I wonder why. And I don't know whether beyond that you have asked any other question. But okay. I think I'm not surprised at all Nigerians being easy target by particularly some other nationals in their country. The report in South Africa is quite true because I've been to South Africa several times, and for obvious reason, even among the military, during peacekeeping operations, there is this kind of jealousy or unnecessarily competitiveness against Nigerians. For whatever reason, I think it is a kind of envy of the blessings God has given us. So, but that notwithstanding, again, the nature or the way some of our citizens conduct themselves to a large extent also have a longer, to rub on the relationship between them and the host community. So this is an embodiment of so many factors. But beyond that, I think we should be concerned why Nigerians are easy target for obvious reasons, and we have to imbibe a mechanism that we should be able to protect our citizens wherever they happen to be, regardless of their dispositions.
I know you had mentioned certain things in South Africa that you suspect could be the reason, but I want to maybe ask you again whether you could identify a few more things, because this incident in South Africa is becoming one too many. What exactly is our crime, besides when you mentioned the issue of, you say, jealousy and all of that?
Well, I think one is that there is this enterprising nature and creative nature of an average Nigerian who can turn a stone into something very useful. It may interest you to know there was a time in Costa Rica when I was doing my postgraduate program, I met a Nigerian without even a passport. So you can imagine, and how they manage to get there and how they are making waves is only good news. And in respect of South Africa, you know, the economy there is not the way it used to be. And Nigerians, being enterprising, people were just thinking that they have taken over businesses. Because hardly you go to places without seeing a Nigerian. So there is this erroneous impression that they are taking over their businesses. And of course, there is lack of understanding also in terms of the relationship. And you know, Nigerians, they have this communal way of life. Sometimes I can remember way back in 2002, 2003, even in Sierra Leone, the average Nigerian tend to be more at home with the Nigerian community than even going to the High Commission. So apart from that, again, the factor, the other thing is that Nigerians are involved in some kind of unpleasant things. For instance, I could remember when they see you dressed like this, the next thing they will start asking you questions that are really not something that you'll be so proud of. So a lot of factors. But in the case of South Africa, that is it. But beyond that, again, I think the problem is that is lack of understanding of an average Nigerian the world over, because they think they are domineering. They have come to take over, you know, the community or the society, as the case may be, simply because a Nigerian is always being himself or herself, as the case may be. Because, and to a large extent, that brought to the question about, you know, the issue of, you know, the environment itself. Because an average Nigerian is usually a very resilient and hardworking person. So whenever he finds himself, wherever he or she found himself, they always make it a home or dominate the environment. So these are some of the factors. But I think to a large extent, it's just the issue of lack of understanding of an average Nigerian, apart from the fact that some of them are really involved into unpalatable things. Take, for instance, the so-called Italian mafia. Now, way back when we went on study tour in 2018, we were made to understand that the Nigerians are gradually taking over the Italian mafia itself. So you can imagine what more of an African country when you have a Nigerian that he can turn things, you know, around General. And so on. So to me, that is the understanding. I can... Okay. Hello.
Yeah, General, I wanted to butt in so I can bring in our second guest to join you in the conversation. I'm being joined right now on the program by Professor David Awarawa, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies, University of Lagos. Prof, thank you so much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you for having me on the program.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Prof, let's get straight to it. The General has been giving us his perspective, but we know, like in any country, there are bad elements amongst us. But majority of us are not criminals, else there won't be a country. Yet, we are painted with a common brush, some sort of collective punishment. How can we reverse this, given what you've seen, if you've been watching on the screen?
Thank you. There isn't too much we can do, unfortunately, except to encourage our people to be more law-abiding in wherever they find themselves. Because that's, whether we like it or not, that's a major issue. The other time I was in South Africa, I was at the Nigerian High Commission there, and we discussed this extensively. The High Commission, they acknowledged that many Nigerians in South Africa were into crimes, and that was, creating a condition of collective hatred, if you like, for Nigerians in the country. That is the much we can say, that Nigerians should be law-abiding wherever they find themselves, and they should work within the confines of, what the country provides. Other than that, the rest is beyond what Nigerians can do. Of course, maybe the High Commission too, will have a responsibility to be more forthcoming in protecting Nigerians. We have had cases where Nigerians are brutalized, Nigerians are treated continually in different countries, and the High Commission does nothing. A colleague of mine traveled to a European country where he was manhandled. He was a senior lecturer at the time, and the embassy didn't lift a finger. Where the second person was treated badly, his own embassy rose on his behalf, and the treatment changed. So Nigerians behaving, within the confines of the law in the countries they find themselves, and the High Commission or embassies, whatever they may be, being more protective of Nigerians is another thing that will help.
All right,
Other than that, there is not much we can do. Nigerians work hard, they earn money, and they live well, and that tends to attract envy and jealousy from the hosts who think that they have come to take their jobs, collect their money. Nigerians can't change that. Once they don't go to a country, don't work hard and make money. I mean, that's the reason why you even go to another country in the first place. So these are the issues in all of this.
Okay, bro, let me head back to Abuja Studio, where we have the General. General, from the Taraba story I read, the people are complaining that bandits from the Republic of Cameroon have overrun certain communities, and now over 7,000 people have been displaced. I know that there was a report from National Security Tracker of the Council on Foreign Relations that showed that in the year 2022, 4,500 persons or thereabout were killed. Out of them, about 3,900 were civilians, 202 military personnel, 186 police officers, 154 vigilantes, 14 security guards, and 17 others were reportedly killed in 2022, according to that report. How can we restore dignity of human life? Life appears quite cheap around the country. How do we reverse this? Again, that question. And stop these invaders from encroaching into our country.
First and foremost, I don't want to join issue in respect of Taraba. And as a matter of fact, the issue associated with Taraba, the story is different. Different in the sense that within those southern local governments of Takum, Usa, and I think they have not recorded the number, so to speak. And in fact, what is on the ground, they don't want to even say it. In most instances, it is Nigerians that go to Cameroon to commit atrocities and come back. However, let's leave it at that. Let's go back to the issue of, protecting the life of Nigerians, making it to count and all the rest. I think the long and short of it is the issue of good governance. Some time ago, a noted professor of law stated that actually any security or democratic dispensation is predicated on three things. The political dispensation, the social and economic. So that is the responsibility of the government. And unfortunately, instead of being proactive with those issues, we tend to be reactive. Reactive in the sense that we tend to, involve the military and the security forces when there are time-tested mechanisms that can enhance human dignity and life. Basically, it is the good governance. So whereby you neglect it, all sorts of things come into play. So we need to go back to the basis to ensure that good governance is enhanced in the Nigerian society. We have left it a long time ago. When Nigeria imbibed the spirit of democracy way back 1998, 1999, there wasn't enough, foundation laid for this kind of situation. And that is why bent-up emotions and what have you are what you are having now. And unless we go back and trace our steps and make sure that there is good governance. And I kept on saying, in Nigeria, we have three tiers of the government, We have the federal, we have state, we have the local government. The local government is almost virtually non-existent. And problems that are supposed to be local, dealt with at the communal level and what have you, are now allowed to accumulate and dump to the state, and the state is overwhelmed, then dump to the federal government. And the federal government, they use the apparatus available to them. The coercion, which is the
if I may, General,
which is the military, and the security forces. Yes.
My apologies. We're totally out of time, so I was trying to just prompt you to conclude your thoughts. So maybe just one sentence way forward. Just one sentence, if you will. I know you said it so that it doesn't look like I cut you off, sir.
It is rather to reiterate the issue of good governance. That's
all right. Fantastic, fantastic. A good place to conclude your thought. General, thank you so much. Brigadier General Sani Usman is a former Army spokesperson joining us from Abuja studio. And unfortunately, we couldn't take so much thought from Professor David Awarawo from the University of Lagos, the Department of International Relations and Strategic Studies. Thank you, sir, all the same, for coming through on the program. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming, sirs.
Thank you so much, Steve.
We appreciate you, and that's it for the program for tonight. Thank you so much for your time and company, and God bless Nigeria. I'm Jeffrey Ozama. Good night.